I used to love coming home late. There was a comfort in knowing that I'd worked hard, done right by my family, and that peace waited for me behind the front door. I never once suspected that every extra hour I stayed at the office, grinding through contracts and budget revisions, I was losing something, someone. Natalie and I had been married for 8 years. She was the kind of woman who could walk into a room and make it warmer just by being there. Smart, funny, disarmingly charming. She taught piano out of our home after leaving her marketing job to pursue something more fulfilling. I supported her, of course. We didn't need her salary, and she genuinely seemed happier. I thought I was doing everything right, providing, being dependable, staying faithful. In hindsight, all the signs were there. The shift was subtle at first. How she stopped asking about my day, how her kisses grew shorter, more mechanical. She spent more time in the music room. Said she was expanding her clientele, taking on late lessons. I believed her. Why wouldn't I? It was a Thursday when I came home early by chance. A late afternoon meeting got canceled, so I thought I'd surprise her. I picked up her favorite Thai food and even stopped for the tiramisu she loved. I walked in, humming, expecting to find her humming back at the piano. But it was too quiet. The kind of quiet that doesn't feel peaceful. The kind that feels like a held breath. I set the food down and walked towards the music room, passing the living room, where the curtains were drawn shut, odd for a sunny afternoon. As I approached the hallway, I heard it. A muffled laugh. A man's voice. Then the low, deliberate notes of a piano chord, an F major, if I had to guess. One she always said sounded too hopeful. I stood frozen outside the room. My hand hovered near the doorknob. I didn't open it. I didn't need to. I heard her giggle, breathless. Then his voice, smooth, practiced. Try that again, but this time softer. Just like I showed you. I turned and left. I don't remember walking out the door. I just remember standing in the driveway, the plastic bag of food hanging limp from my hand. The sun was still out. The birds were still chirping. The world didn't know mine had cracked open. That night, I didn't say anything. I waited until after dinner, after she'd kissed me goodnight with lips that had laughed with someone else. I stared at the ceiling in the dark, playing it all back. Her laugh. The chord. The way her eyes had darted away from mine when I got home. How she'd lied so easily about how tiring her last lesson had been. Over the next few days, I confirmed what my gut already knew. Receipts for wine I didn't drink. A bottle of cologne tucked behind the guest bathroom's mirror. The way she suddenly started wearing perfume again, even for her beginner lessons. His name was Ian. Mid-30s. Played piano like he was born to it. Taught music theory at the local arts college. According to his website, he believed in unlocking the emotional core of every melody. Apparently, he also believed in unlocking wives. I didn't confront her. Not yet. I wanted to know how far it went. How many afternoons I spent bent over spreadsheets while she played out a different kind of duet in our home. I started keeping track. Her lesson times, her mood shifts. I even recorded a conversation they had once, through the slightly ajar window. It wasn't graphic. Just intimate. Too intimate. One afternoon, she didn't hear me come in. I stood quietly in the hallway again. He was playing something slow, a waltz maybe. She was humming along, then suddenly said, "Do you think he suspects?" His reply was a low chuckle. "He's probably too busy to even notice." That was the moment something broke. Not in me, but around me. The illusion. The trust. Everything I thought we had. I'm not a man prone to outbursts. But there was something simmering in me now. Not just anger. Sadness, sure, but also a strange kind of clarity. I wasn't just losing my wife. I was watching her give herself away. I didn't sleep that night. I just stared at the ceiling, counting the seconds between every creak of the house. I heard her shift beside me, sigh in her sleep like she didn't have a care in the world. I kept seeing her in that room, eyes closed, swaying to his music, her voice asking if I suspected anything. Maybe she believed I was too busy, too distant, too tired to see her slipping away. Maybe I had been. The next day, I called in sick. I told my team I had a stomach bug, something I never did, so they didn't press. Natalie left just after noon, a lesson at the college, she claimed. She kissed my cheek and said, "Rest up." I watched her drive off and waited another 5 minutes before getting in my car. Ian lived in a tidy rental just outside the city, a little place with a porch and too many wind chimes. I parked a few houses down and waited. An hour later, Natalie's car pulled in. She didn't knock, just walked right in with a bag of groceries, and what I could only assume was wine tucked under her arm. Comfortable. Casual. Like it was hers too. I didn't follow her. Not then. I sat there and watched the curtains flutter in the window. Imagined the laughter, the touches, the betrayal playing out in real time. I didn't need to see it. I already knew. That night, I confronted her, not with shouting, not with drama, but with a folder. Inside were screenshots of her texts, printouts of his teaching schedule, a photo I took of her walking into his house. She sat there, staring at the folder, silent for too long. "Ian is just," she began, but I held up a hand. "Don't lie," I said. "Not now." Her face fell. Maybe it was the sudden drop in her voice. Maybe it was how quickly she went from defensive to defeated. She admitted to everything. It had been going on for 6 months. He understood her. He inspired her. With him, she felt seen. Music had always been her way of feeling alive, and Ian had played into that. I asked her one question. "Why didn't you just leave?" She couldn't answer. Her mouth opened, then closed. Then she said, "Because I didn't want to hurt you." That was the cruelest part. As if cheating behind my back in my home, while I worked overtime to build a future for us, somehow hurt less than honesty would have. She moved out 2 weeks later. Said she needed time to figure things out. I let her go without a fight. Not because I didn't care, but because I finally saw that I'd been fighting alone for a long time. The silence in the house afterward was deafening. No piano. No laughter. Just the steady tick of the hallway clock and the creak of old floorboards. I thought I'd be consumed by anger, by grief, but what surprised me was the calm. It was like the storm had passed, and I was just walking through the wreckage now, picking up the pieces one by one. A few months later, I sold the house. Too many ghosts in the hallways. I moved into a small loft across town and took up guitar, not out of spite, but because I needed to make music mine again. For me. I heard through a mutual friend that things with Ian didn't last. Apparently, what felt like passion in stolen hours didn't quite translate to real life. She tried to reach out once, sent me a long email filled with apologies and poetic regrets. I read it. I didn't respond. Some things don't need closure. Now, when people ask if I still believe in love, I say yes. But I also believe in presence. In noticing. In not letting your love become a shadow in someone else's spotlight. I gave Natalie space, trust, and time. And she gave those same things to someone else. But I'm not bitter anymore. Not really. I'm just a man who learned, in the quietest and hardest way possible, that sometimes love isn't about holding on. It's about knowing when to let go.